Being a vendor at a Pokemon card show is super fun and exciting. I love doing it so much. You get to meet lots of really cool people who are also into the hobby, other vendors doing the same thing as you, and it's just a total blast. But a lot of people don't realize the amount of setup, prep, uh, a general etiquette that goes into a day of vending. So I decided I wanted to make a video outlining what's worked for me in the past when I've vended at a Pokemon show. For those of you who might be new to vending, who might be thinking about doing it, or maybe you signed up for one and now you got those nerves eating up inside of you and you're just, but also really excited. Trust me, I know exactly how you feel. Hopefully, this video will help set your mind at ease. We're actually going to go over more than 10 things, but top 10 sounds good for the YouTube algorithm, so it is what it is. Quick intro for those who are new to the channel. My name is Alex. I run an online Pokemon card business called CardPenguin.com, and I like to document and talk about my journey, as well as going over what worked for me, what didn't work for me, the good, the bad, the ugly. Try to keep it 100% honest with you guys. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you and you want to see more, I would ask that you consider liking the video and possibly subscribing so that you can see more in the future. All right, let's get into it now. All right, number one, show up early to the show. So if the show starts at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I recommend getting there probably hour and a half to 2 hours early. A lot of the showrunners, the people hosting the show are going to ask you to arrive early anyway, but you are going to want to do that. Like for me, if it starts at 10 o'clock, I'm at the very latest, I'm getting there, getting out of my car at 8:30, starting to unload product. Obviously, if you are someone who only brings a stack of binders, it might be a little bit quicker than someone who's bringing a few boxes of sealed product like myself. But you want to get there with enough time to go in and check in and get yourself registered with the showrunners to let them know that you were there, and then start getting set up. Benefits of this: you have a lot more time to comfortably and calmly set up so that you can focus on your display and your presentation, because that's what people are going to be seeing all day, right? So you don't want to rush that, and you definitely don't want to be setting up when customers start coming in, because those are just missed sales, just walking by, walking by, walking by. Word definitely travels at these things, so you definitely want to get there early, not just for your sake, but for the people around you's sake as well, because if you are running back and forth in front of the table and you have a vendor to your left and your right, and you're kind of getting in their way and impeding traffic, that just kind of takes away from their sales as well. So definitely something you want to try to avoid. And you get to relax when the customers show up. You don't have to feel like you're in a hurry, right? So get there early, start setting up, check in, hour and a half early, sometimes two, depending on what you're bringing. In that same vein, you also want to be dressed pretty nicely, right? I mean, you don't have to be like over the top, suit and tie, like businessman, right? I mean, dress clean and neat. You can wear Pokemon merch or merch for whatever types of show that you might be doing. These tips apply to pretty much any kind of vending event that I could think of. But you want to look presentable. You want to be approachable, right? You don't want to necessarily look like you rolled out of bed and you're in your pajamas and your hair's a mess and you look half asleep. Nobody's going to want to approach that guy. That guy might be great, might be super nice, but there's you know hundreds of other vendors sometimes at these shows that you know if you see that in like 10 other people that you know are well kept, are you going to go to that guy or going to go to the other guys? You're going to go to the other guys. You're presenting yourself as a business, and you're presenting yourself as, a legitimate seller, right? And this is part of your brand and part of your name. So you want to represent that as best as you can. All right, number two, I want to talk about setup of the table. I'll try to throw up a couple of pictures here of a table that I set up recently at a show, but you want it to be neat and organized and sort of like just easy to digest. You don't want like piles of things. It can be sort of like semi-dense, but there needs to be a clear indication of what's on display and what you're selling. There needs to be some sort of system, something laid out like, okay, singles and binders over in this section. Then I've got kind of my sealed product over here, and these are kind of my ETBs and my booster packs and, a couple of collection boxes. So make sure that it's easy to digest and easy for customers to browse, and there's a system to it. I would highly suggest investing in some of the stackable plastic shelves, and I will put a picture of that up here on the ones I use. And that will allow more space behind you. Usually, up against a wall or something, you generally have some space. You're going to be standing most of the time anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But you want to have that product stacked, and you want to have the eye-catching stuff up top so that people from a distance are going to be able to see it, and it's going to be a little bit more of an attraction to go to you. As they're approaching it, they're going to keep in the back of their mind, like, okay, I want to check that stuff out. Maybe I'll save some of my money for that, right? All right, number 3, while you're there setting up in the morning, make sure you introduce yourself to your neighboring vendors. If you have any, generally you will. Be nice to them, introduce yourself politely, tell them your name of your business, get theirs. All about networking, get to know as many people as you can. Oftentimes, a lot of these same vendors are going to the same shows that you're going to be going to. So you're going to see a lot of the same faces. And again, like I said before, word travels very quickly at these things. So if you're the rude guy who doesn't get along with people and treats people like shit, I mean, that's a one-way ticket, fast track to not be invited back to these things. And the biggest thing of that, like I said, networking, you open yourself up to being able to maybe collaborate with them, or work out some deals like with mixing or trading inventory, or a number of things, right? I mean, it's never a bad thing to network with more people, right? And not just vendors, but customers too. And we'll get to that. So with your customers, greet everyone politely. Greet everybody. Don't be the vendor that's sitting down in the corner, kind of hidden out of the way and hoping that people will just kind of come up and want to give you a bunch of money. Part of selling and also promoting your business is putting your face to that business and treating people with respect and politeness that, frankly, as your customers, they deserve. If there's one guy standing and greeting everybody and talking and making deals, and then there's the other guy next to them like sitting down in the corner, like just kind of on their phone, like doing whatever, blah, 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 blah. Nobody's ever going to approach you. So you need to greet people. You need to be standing. I know it kind of sucks sometimes when you've realized you stand in for like 6 hours straight and you've been talking for 6 hours straight and you're exhausted, but trust me, that time it flies and it's worth it. Also, try to remember to drink a little bit of water. I have a bad habit of doing that. I'll realize I didn't drink any water all day or eat anything all day, but that's just because it's so much fun and you're just so engaged and locked in. Just be polite with people and don't be afraid to engage them from a distance, right? Now, don't yell like across an aisle or like way across the way. Like if they're a few feet away and they're walking by and they give you like a little glance and they look at your table, greet them like, "Hey, how are you guys doing? How are you doing today?" And they might answer you, they might not, they might keep walking, but I'm telling you, like 7, 8 times out of 10, those customers come over to me and we engage. And sometimes those turn into sales, sometimes they don't. But if I never engage them and I just let them walk on by, there's absolutely zero chance it's going to be a sale, right? Some people like to keep their distance and just kind of watch from, but if they're giving you the eyes, right? If they're eyeballing your table, your stuff, then that's a contract right there. That, as far as I'm concerned, that's an ocular contract to bring them in and at least chat and see what you have to offer, right? All right, so for the next one, I want to talk about pricing your products. You don't necessarily want to be having to look up every single thing every time somebody asks you a question, because once you start getting a crowd, and it will happen, now you're looking for, and you're not going to have good internet connection at most of these things. I mean, this is going to be slow. I mean, you can bring your own hotspot or something, but in my experience, it's been really slow. So you don't want to be there doing that for every single person for every single thing. So for the cards that are not going to be moving up and down very much, or steel product, same argument, go ahead and price them. People don't have to ask. You could take the approach of not pricing it and having people ask, which is a form of, coercing engagement. I've tried both. I haven't really seen a difference in sales either way. So I kind of tend to recommend setting those prices just to save you a little bit of headache from having to converse about something different when you're already having to deal with everything else going on around you. And you want to be transparent and consistent with that pricing. You don't want to be pulling prices on products from all kinds of different sources. That's just a way to kind of lose trust in people if they realize that you are out there pricing based off of some random system or something that's just solely in your favor, right? So be consistent and be transparent. Most of them are going to be going off a TCG player, so that's sort of how I recommend it. Slabs, it's going to be a little bit different if you're selling graded cards. All right, and continuing from that point, expect negotiation. All right, everyone, not everyone, most people are going to want to negotiate with you, whether that be through asking at a lower rate or offering to sell and trade you some cards. So expect to do that. Be open to it. You don't necessarily want to be the vendor that's no, never, like I don't do it. It's just sell, sell, sell. You want to look out for trades. Now, me specifically, I tend to only kind of look for sealed, but sometimes I'll bring in singles if I know that I can flip them pretty quickly, or if they're trading towards something that I know that I'm probably going to be holding on to it for a while, and I know I can move these cards at a moderate pace or sell them on TCG Player. You know, if we find a good percentage, we'll go from there. But don't be afraid to say no. Don't ever be afraid to say no. If it doesn't make sense to you, if you feel uneasy about it, especially if you're unsure of the value of the product, definitely hard no. All right, the next point I want to talk about protecting your inventory and your booth, right? Especially if you are alone. But you don't want to be overbearing or weird about it, right? So you need to be alert and attentive. And this is another reason why you want to be standing and engaged and making eye contact and greeting people. I don't know if anyone here has experience working like at a grocery store or a retail store in person, but you've probably heard similar training where one of the reasons you want to engage customers that come into the store is because now they have registered in their mind that you have observed them, you have engaged them, you're aware of their presence. That is going to drastically lower the likelihood of somebody stealing something from the store. And if you can, I highly recommend, if you can, and I try to do this at every show, recruit somebody to come along with you. And even if they don't know anything about Pokemon or cards, that's fine. Try to give them a little bit of rundown of kind of like how to interact with people from the beginning. But you know, I like at the last show I went to, I brought my mom. She loves helping out. I brought friends to him before. It's so huge having somebody that can at least keep an extra eye on the table and sort of in converse basic conversation with other people while you're dealing with your sale. So it allows you a little bit more focus on that. You know, I know not everybody can get somebody to come out with them and spend the whole day sitting at a card show. You know, at the very least, you got to buy them lunch or, you know, give them something for their time. But if you can't make it work, you know, just be diligent, be polite, but quick and efficient with customers, and then make sure you kind of have your peripherals always on the table. If somebody asks you what's behind you or like, hey, can you pull that from behind? Like, be really careful about going up there and digging and turning your back and then all of a sudden you turn around and you know they might be gone or somebody else like came up behind them and like grabbed something. You know, you never know, right? So you want to be attentive. If they ask you for something, be like, oh, you mean this one right here? It's a good idea to have, you know, a good idea of what is behind you, and you can take like a quick glance like, oh, this one right here, okay, and then I'm going to pull it down like this, and I'm still looking at them and I've got my peripherals everywhere, and then we're going to talk about the box and be like, oh yeah, this is actually not for sale because I love this so much and I'm just going to put it right back up here. And then see, I turn my back. That's because I want to make sure it didn't fall. Don't turn your back on it. You know, keep it there, and if you can, bring somebody along with you that you trust that will keep an eye on things for you. All right, the tough customers. How do we deal with the tough ones? Now, I've been lucky enough that I don't have too many issues with this. You Most people are pretty chill. You know, some are a little bit more direct and a little bit more pushy, but I would say, at least in my experience, most of them are not super rude. You know, you'll run into them every now and again, but if you have to deal with one, make sure you stay polite. Don't argue with them, right? Now, obviously, if things get aggressive, that's a whole different story, but that's just a lot to unpack in a video like this. But if they're getting kind of, you know, a little bit rude and pushy, and it's just like clear something like a deal's not going to happen here, you know, don't be afraid to be like, hey man, I don't think we're going to find, you know, an agreement here. I really appreciate you stopping by. Um, but if you see, you know, if you see anything else that you like on my table, I'd be happy to talk about it. I just don't think it's going to work this time. So something like that, you know, that was just kind of off the top of the head. practice in the mirror if you have trouble dealing with stuff like that. Another good reason to be buddy buddy with your neighbors, and they can kind of back you up if things get a little bit like too much, right? I have seen that happen before, where like little arguments break out here and there. Don't be the guy that argues. Even if you're in the right, you don't want that heat. You don't want that attention. It's just kind of bad for everyone. So be polite. Be remembered as the guy who stayed calm and weathered the storm rather than fighting back. You also will deal with the little like pushier or maybe not like less knowledgeable customers who are going to have like a ton of questions for you. Totally fine. Just be patient with them, listen to them, answer their questions honestly. Don't make anything up, don't lie to them. Definitely, and I know you guys never do this, definitely never try to take advantage of someone who clearly doesn't know what they're talking about. Educate them so that they do know what they're talking about and they don't get ripped off somewhere else. They will continue to enjoy the hobby and grow with it if you inform them, right? It's better to have an informed customer than to have one that you took advantage of one time and then they realize it a couple hours later and then they never come back to you again, and you might have some sort of social backlash from it too, right? So you just want to avoid all that stuff, right? I mean, that's just outside of vendor advice. Just don't be that guy, right? Just don't be that person. All right, so into the like business side of things, we talked a bit about networking with vendors, but you also want to open up your network to your customers, right? You don't necessarily just want to be the guy that they stop by and they buy something and then they're gone forever. Great, we had an awesome transaction. You want them to come back and buy from you in the future if they see you at another card show, or if you have a website, which you should, or a YouTube channel, which you should, or any of your other social media, which you should. Make sure they connect you to that. So bring a business card, bring business cards. You don't have to have like big banners and flyers. Like those things are crazy expensive. What I did is I just printed off, and I'll show a picture of it here. I printed off like a sign up sheet for my email list that people can go on and sign up and get a discount code sent to them after the show to incentivize them to go and use the website. It Don't spam people, by the way. Be clear. I even put it on the sheet. Like I'm not going to spam you. Like I don't even have time to spam you, right? It's just to get people on your email list, right? To in the future you're building up a catalog or online Rolodex. For those of you nowadays who still know what that is. That in the future you can have them as a contact for when you are sending out marketing emails. But again, never spam. Don't spam. Send them their code. Have your business cards. What I do is I have business cards that I give people. If they're interested, it has all my socials on it and my YouTube with a QR code they can scan. They can go right to the website and see all of it. I also, if someone makes a purchase at my store, at my booth, I will give them a business card that has a code on it for free shipping. I will give that to them as a huge incentive for them to come back and shop on the website. I have a lot of success with that. So business cards honestly don't cost that much. You can get 100 business cards for like $13 at like FedEx Print. You just keep them nice and simple. Go in Canva, free version of Canva, look up a business card template, find a template on there. If you're not the creative type, see what templates are on Canva, go in there, take out the elements and throw in your words and your website and all that stuff. As long as it has your name on it, your logo, website, socials, you should be good to go. Also at your table, I would recommend having QR codes with your payment types and also having multiple payment types. Obviously, you're going to want to accept cash, but I would recommend also setting up PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. You can also set up like Google Payments, or if you have a website, you can set up taking cards like through your phone or something like that. But just have multiple payment methods. Definitely you want to have PayPal. Zelle, some people will use Zelle, and Cash App. Cash App's huge. Like I would say probably outside of Cash App is the biggest one. The worst thing in the world, and I've had this happen to me when I was starting out. Someone comes up and they want to spend $100 on something, and they only have one payment method for some reason, and you don't accept that payment method. It's like, well, what else are we going to do, right? So make sure you have yourself covered, have that accessibility for your customers to engage and interact and be able to pay you. I also recommend having an inventory list. So we talked about having prices ready, but you also want to have a full list of the inventory that you brought with you that day, because what you're going to want to do afterwards is reconcile what you sold. So when I sell something, I will either write it down if I'm going paper, or if you got a tablet or like a laptop going, log it. I sold this item for, if I sold the Ascended Heroes, if I sold the tech sticker pack, I write down Ascended Heroes tech sticker, Ghastly, $35 cash, right? So for accounting purposes, that helps me a lot at the end of the day to go in and plug in all the numbers that I need to, and also to ensure that I tracked everything properly through the day and make sure I'm not missing any inventory, right? So end of the day, when I'm packing up, I check off that I should have this, 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 and this. I actually have a cool little spreadsheet that tracks all that stuff. If anyone's interested in that, um, hit me up. Send me a message, and I can send you a template. I found it to be pretty helpful for me. That one's on Google Sheets, but it works on Excel as well. So I found that to be extremely helpful for reconciling later, especially if you're someone who's very like OCD and perfectionist about your inventory and your cash flow, right? Which I think you should be as a business owner, but teach their own. So to kind of wrap all of that up, and to close it out with what I think is the most important point, is if you're taking this seriously and you want to do this full time, you need to treat this first and foremost as a business, right? This is not just a table at a show. This is your storefront. This is your version, basically, of like an LGS. So you're bringing your online presence in person. So do you want those people to engage with you and bring their in-person presence to your online presence? Then you need to be that guy in person that treats everything professionally, calmly, like a business, and get people coming back that trust you, that want to shop from you, because they won't do it if you're that unprofessional guy who's sitting down in the corner on his phone, or won't make any deals at all, or is rude, or any of that, right? So treat everyone politely, give out your promotional materials, don't be pushy about it, don't be rude. Give them a reason, a genuine reason to want to come and shop with you, or watch you on YouTube or anything like that. I've gotten some of my best followers and subscribers and customers from card shows, especially if you're vending somewhere local and they're local. That's a huge connection to make. They're going to want to shop from the guy who's going to, who they know is in their community, and they know also is going to do quick shipping, right? So if they live like 45 minutes away from me, I ship all my things out the next day. So they're going to get that bad boy in like 2 days, right? I've even had some people reach out to me to do kind of local pickup or pickup at the next card show. I get people asking me all the time if I'm going to be at whatever card show, and I'll do that for them. I don't know if I'll get to the point where that's going to be too much for me, but right now it's manageable. Well, I don't mind saving some people a few bucks on shipping by just packing it up with me, putting their name on the order, and bringing it with me to the show. So keep all those things in mind if you want to build and grow this into something that's even more successful over time. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. Hopefully those tips and tricks and advice and general etiquette expectations, I hope those all were able to help somebody out who's new to all this. Hopefully I didn't get too rambly in it. I really love vending at card shows. I think they're super fun, and I think they're a great way to grow not just your business, but to grow yourself as a person. You interact with so many people, and you have so many cool conversations, and you see people's collections, and you learn a lot about the market and what people are looking for, and just really kind of getting your ear to the ground. So it helps everyone, and it gives them a good experience, and it's just a ecosystem that just kind of builds upon itself. And I don't want to get too preachy or anything about that, but that's genuinely kind of how I feel about it. I love going out there and vending, and I've just met so many amazing people. If you guys liked this content, you want to see more like it, or more stuff on my business journey where I talk about the good, bad, and the ugly, 100% honest with you guys about everything, please subscribe, check out the channel, and I love you. I do. I will see you guys. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you next time. So you want to be a vendor, huh? Think you can sell one of these? You can sell these at a show? You think you can do that? You think you got what it takes? I think you got what it takes, man. You can take all of these and you can sell all of these too. And I believe that. And I'm saying that from the heart, man. And I know that you can do it. Yeah? It's between you and me right now. I'll give you the energy and you go sell. And you give me 20%. All right?